Welcome to My Spoonie Sisters, featuring stories from special guests dedicated to empowering those with chronic illness. Our goal? To connect people and provide the support and tools they need to live a better life. For those with chronic illness, our energy levels just fade faster. We must be more purposeful with the spoons allotted to us. So grab your coffee or tea, sister, and tune in as My Spoonie Sisters share stories of living with chronic illness. Hi, my Spoonie Sisters. I'm your host, Gracefully Jen, and today I am so excited to introduce you to Wendy, the host of the Nurse Wellness Podcast. She is a nurse practitioner who specializes in stress management and emotional intelligence. But who better to tell us all about herself? Hi, Wendy. Welcome to My Spoonie Sisters.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Thank you. And I really think as people with chronic illnesses, we have a hard time dealing with stress management. And so I think it's really important for you to share some skills that we can apply to our lives.
Yes, you are so right. Stress itself can really exacerbate chronic illness, and people who are chronically ill live with chronic stress because it impacts your physical well-being, as many of your listeners know. So stress management is very important in individuals who suffer from chronic illness. Because with that, if you already have chronic illness and you're stressed, you can exacerbate what you have, or you can make it worse, or you can bring on other things. Stress it's ambiguous, right? Because you can't see stress, but you experience it. And I think for chronic illness, you feel it on a daily basis, so it becomes part of your norm. What I talk about is the stress cycle, when you're in this cycle of stress. And when I think about chronic illness, you're always in that cycle of stress.
Absolutely.
Right? So the stress, which is the pain or discomfort, really impacts your overall well-being. One of the things I do is I help people understand the importance of stress management to live well and to enhance your overall well-being. Because as we're all here on this earth, I truly believe we all have a gift to share with the world, to make impact. And it's hard to do that if we're in that cycle that I was talking about.
Okay, so if I am dealing with all of this undue stress or stress because of that kind of thing with my chronic illness, how would I reach out to you and ask you for help?
So you can go to stressblueprint.com and schedule a consultation with me, and we can talk about where you are and where you want to be.
Okay, so what would you say would be probably your top 5 tips on how to manage our stress?
Well, the first thing is identifying the stressor. Sometimes we're so stressed, we forget what we're stressed about or what's causing it. So identifying where you are, where did it start? How is it impacting your life? Then I would think about, where do you want to be? And where you want to be can be your goals. It can be your purpose. Think about what you need or who you need. And then how do you operationalize that? How do you put what you identified into motion? And then you just do it with some accountability, support, and community. The biggest thing, and I know you said 5, is really the pause and to go within. Because we have everything within us to manage our stress. When we are stressed, it's hard for us to remember that. So that pause, what you do in that pause is essential. Some things I like to do that your listeners can do is breathing. The power of breathing. It's I don't think we talk about it enough, but I know people say meditating, yoga, but really the power of breathing, controlling your breath, You're in control, because what stress is the perception that you don't have control over what's going on. It's really a loss of control. So breathing, our breaths are automatic, right? You don't really have control over that, but taking control of breathing in for 3, hold it for 3, out for 3. Doing that to just really bring yourself down, to then do some introspection of what's going on with you.
That really makes sense. And if you think about it, when you go to a yoga class or a Pilates class, how relaxed are we because we're doing that intuitive breathing, right? And we're really thinking about it and taking the time to do it. And if I'm at a day job or playing with my children, I'm not focused on how I'm breathing or anything like that. And okay, well, I guess an example, I deal with anxiety. A lot of my family members do. And what we would notice is sometimes it's like you have a lump in your throat and you're holding your breath. You don't even realize that you're doing it. It's not intentional, but that's just exasperating how you're feeling and adding to the stress of the anxiety and the panic attack.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I always think about it in terms of when you come in this world, right? Or when you bring life into this world, what's the first thing that we look for? Breath. Are they breathing? I'm an oncology nurse practitioner, so I do oncology and hospice. When someone is transitioning out of this world, what are we looking for? The last breath.
Yeah.
In between that dash of coming into this world and leaving this world, that's what we have. That's our lifeline. That's what we can control. And what you do in the middle of all that is so important. So another thing outside of breathing and controlling your breath is journaling or writing things down. The reason I love journaling so much and the power of that is because it creates distance between you and the stressor. Many times the stressor is in your mind, or you're feeling it in your body for chronic pain or conditions, and you're holding on to it, right? Journaling is your outlet. It creates distance between you and the thing that can be happening. And when I work with individuals, it's not only that, but you can do other things to get rid of that stressor that you have some distance with. So that's where the accountability comes in, the practice. It's all of that. So when I say breathing and journaling, it's like poo-poo. People poo-poo that, but you got to dig deep and kind of unpack what that really is and why you're doing it.
100%.
Yeah.
What kind of got you going into this direction? Because, you're a nurse practitioner, you're dealing with oncology. Did you just wake up one day and be like, I want to help people?
Yeah. So thank you for asking that question. So I am a nurse practitioner specializing in oncology. And when the pandemic hit, I was a new mom. I just had my son. I was newly married, and I was working from home doing cancer research. So I was in the comfort of my own home. I was living the life, quote unquote. And I remember the time I was sitting on the couch and I was breastfeeding my son at the time. And the pandemic was here. It was in March. And I was, I'm not sure what that is.
Okay, so it wasn't just me.
Yeah. So I was breastfeeding my newborn son, sitting on the couch. And what I say is I was really wrestling with my purpose. I'm watching the numbers on the TV screen increase. I'm watching my colleagues on the front line. I'm watching all this chaos happening. And I had this feeling that I've had for a while, but that was the moment I remember. And the problem with that, Jen, was I wanted to be back on the front lines. But I was struggling because how can I want to do that? And I have this newborn baby. I have my husband, my elderly mother here, and there's a virus out there killing people. How can I want to do that? So I struggled with that, but I came to the conclusion and I made the decision to go back to clinical practice in the middle of a global pandemic. And that one decision changed my life. It changed my life because I was aligned with purpose, which is service, regardless of what's going on. So then I started to say, how can I serve? I served cancer caregivers. Shape Partners is my other organization where we provide resources to cancer caregivers because they struggle with stress. I also went to, help nurses, my colleagues with stress. And my experience with stress and making that decision to align with purpose blew my mind. So that propelled me to, I want more people to do that. I want more people to step into their gift. I want more people to understand their purpose, their potential, their passion. So that is what drives me, because I believe everyone has that thing, that gift that we can unwrap. And unwrapping it is stress management. It truly is. It truly is. So that's what drives me to do what I do now in terms of stress management. And emotional intelligence is kind of the vehicle we use. Emotional intelligence is being aware of your emotions, your thoughts, and your behaviors, and also being aware of the thoughts, behaviors of others and emotions of others, and using that awareness to really cultivate wellness in my mind, because you want to cultivate good relationships. You also want to be able to control yourself. And I'll just go over this really quickly. The first foundational pillar of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. Self-awareness. We spend a lot of time there. The second one is self-regulation or self-management. What do you do once you know yourself? How do you react? What are those triggers, right? How do we control those triggers? The next one is social recognition. So understanding others, having empathy, and social management. How do you manage those relationships? How do you influence? How do you impact, right? So we use that as a foundation of stress management, along with my own framework called the SHAPE framework that I developed, that I take people through to unpack where they are and where they want to be.
Wow. I mean, I don't even know how to put words to it other than wow. It just sounds like you're Wonder Woman with so much to offer. I do have a question. And I was trying to figure out how to ask this question, but do you think where we live and what we do for a job, I guess our whole dynamic, does that kind of run how our stressors are, I guess?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. And where we live, environment, society, I'm going to take it from the society standpoint, because our society really impacts our culture and who we think we should be, who we think we shouldn't be, what we think we should be doing or not doing. In this society in the United States, we value hustle bustle. We value working. We value money. We value all these things that don't allow us to take that pause that I was talking about. So many people get so caught up in doing the thing that they don't take a step back and say, is this the thing I want to be doing? Right. And also with that, I talk about identities. I talk about who you think you are, who people perceive you to be, and then who you really are. Do people think about that? Who are you? Right? The most important thing is to be who you are and not worry about what people think about you. In our society, we're so worried about what people think about me when you don't even know what you think about yourself or who you are.
Oh, yeah.
Let's start there first. That's self-awareness, So definitely it impacts us. And, in talking about what we do, workplace stress is through the roof and continuing to rise because we spend most of our time at work and many people don't even like what they do. But sometimes you feel stuck and pigeonholed. Well, I'm here to tell you, let's peel back the layers and let's tap into your purpose and align you with where you want to be, because you have something to offer the world. And where you are today, wherever you work, that's not it. That's not the end all be all. That's not the dead end. So as long as you have breath in your body, there's so much you can do to impact this world. And I want people to know that.
And things can change. And it's just as simple as getting out there, reach out to all your friends and family and ask them, what do you think I'm good at?
Mm-hmm.
And then once you realize what it is you're good at, maybe that's what you should be doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is, Jen, with stress and chronic illness being a stressor, it's associated with so much that I'm not sure if people realize the power of stress on health and wellness. But it is associated with anxiety, depression, diabetes, high blood pressure, impotence for men, infertility for women. It decreases your immune system where you can't fight different things. Has been even associated with some cancers. There's some research out there about that. But what it also does is it impacts your ability to think and make decisions appropriately. So that is a motivation within itself to manage stress. And even if you have a chronic illness, you still have purpose. You still have work to do. You still have impact. There are still people out there waiting on you. That does not define who you are or how you serve this world. And I want your listeners to really hear that. Because you have a chronic illness does not define how you impact this world.
Calling all Spoonies. As a host of a chronic illness podcast, nothing lights up my day more than hearing from you, our incredible listeners. Whether it's a topic close to your heart that you want us to uncover, or you are keen to show your own journey as a guest on our show, your voice matters. Living with chronic illness can often feel isolating, but through the power of podcasting, we can come together as a community to uplift, educate, and inspire one another. Your stories, insights, and questions drive the conversations we have and the topics we explore. So if there's something on your mind, a story that you are just itching to share, or a guest you'd love to hear from, don't hesitate to reach out. Your voice is not only welcomed here, but celebrated. Let's continue to amplify the voices of those living with chronic illnesses and create a space where everyone feels heard, supported, and empowered. Together, we are stronger. Honestly, it's like it gives you a purpose and a direction to go of the people that need you.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, maybe I'm in pain and I'm struggling to get out of bed today, but somebody needs to hear my story, because how much can I help them if I'm just being honest and sharing what it's like to have that journey?
Absolutely.
It's why we do it with you.
Story. I love that you said everyone has a story and it's yours. Mm-hmm. And the world needs to hear your story. And that's why community is so important. I'm big on community because community can make or break you. And when I say community, I'm not talking about a Facebook community, even those are great, or a support group, but who's in your circle, your friends, your family, right? You need people that's going to support you and lift you up and encourage you to tell your story, or to, find your purpose or reach your goals. Because if you have a community that's toxic or that doesn't support you, that just increases stress and keeps you stuck. So community is so important. And I'm so happy that, you have this podcast as a community for your listeners to, hear something that may move them, or that may help them start opening their gift. So I love that you're doing this, and I love that your listeners have this platform as a resource for themselves. So important.
Thank you. And I kind of want to touch on something that you talked about too. If your circle of people are toxic around you, if you have this person that every single day when you talk to them, everything is woe is me, everything is terrible, everything is happening to them, that's going to impact your stress for the day and for the next day and the week and the month. Do you get to the point of where you just don't even want to pick up your phone and talk to that person because they're dragging you down? So if you have a friend like that, what would you recommend to do?
Distance yourself. It's a choice. And I think it's a great thing if you have a friend like that and you know you have a friend like that, because the first thing is knowing awareness. And I think it's important to do an assessment of who in your life takes your energy and who in your life gives you energy. Because when you have people that take energy, I say it's taking your power. You don't want to give your power away. You need that power to work on your purpose, to unwrap your gift, to have impact, right? So you distance yourself. And people say, oh, well, it's so hard because it's my mother, or it's so hard because we've been friends. No, you're at a different stage in your life and you don't have that to give right now. And you have to be okay with that.
100%. And I think people need to be okay with changing the narrative. Say it's your mother. Okay, how do you redirect that conversation? Because obviously, if you love and appreciate your mother, you don't want to necessarily cut her out of your life, but you can change the narrative. You can change the direction of the conversation every time.
Absolutely. And it's really about people honoring themselves. And what comes to mind for me is like self-advocacy, advocating for your sanity, right? In terms of the example you use, your mother, it's not the what, it's the how. It's not the what, it's the how. But it's important to know who you are. So when you're in that conversation, right, the emotional intelligence, you know who you are and you know how you're going to react. Don't allow people to push your buttons. Or you know how to cut the conversation off because you know where it's going to go and say, I can't go there right now with you. If we're going to go there, we need to table that for another time. Very direct. And you can say that to anyone. It's not the what, it's the how you do it. And that goes for anyone in your life. And you have the power to do that. Even if you've never done it before, you can start today because you have to tell and show people how to treat you. And you can start that anytime.
And if you're nervous about it, if you're afraid that you are going to get flustered, write down some examples of how to redirect that conversation. Be ready. Have it there in front of you. Do it.
Or say it out loud before you get on the phone or in person. Practice it, right? Practice
Absolutely.
it.
Write it on your mirror if you have to.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So we probably have about 4 more minutes. I always try to keep the podcast at a certain amount of time because we lose people, don't we? I'm sure you dealt with.
Yes.
People just stop listening to us, right? What do you think is the most important takeaway?
The most important takeaway is to get to know yourself. Who are you now? And who do you want to be? And how do you want to show up in this world? Who are you now? Who do you want to be? And how do you want to show up in this world? And it's very easy to do that if you manage your stress. Stress is an inhibitor to all of that. Knowing yourself, impacting the world, unwrapping your gifts. And you have gifts to unwrap. But that is a takeaway. Spend some time answering those questions. Who am I? Who do I want to be? And how do you want to impact the world?
And if you're not sure where to begin, reach out to Wendy and by all means, go listen to the podcast. I love that. I was listening to it yesterday and I love that you got on there and you said, you know what? I needed to take a break. Because sometimes it's so important that we recognize when we need to take a break. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, I love you. You're my kind of person, because when you can recognize that you just need to take a break from something, take a pause, you're valuing yourself enough to give to yourself.
Absolutely. And can I just say one thing about that? People always say, oh, you're the stress solution strategist. Do you get stressed? I'm human. Absolutely, I get stressed. However, I know how to get back on track or when I need to take a break because things happen. and you got to put in those practices. But life happens, right? They say life is life.
Yeah.
It happens, but you have to have the community around you to bring you back. Or you have to have the self-awareness where I can come and say, yes, this is what happened. And I had to prioritize some things.
Yeah.
So it's very important to know self.
You have those tools, and it's important that they also have the tools to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so you talk about the stress blueprint, and is that a book too? Is there like a workbook? And
It's funny you asked that. So I'm in the process of writing a book. I was like, how did you know that? Because it's not out in the public.
It's like I'm a mind reader, or maybe I just really want it to happen.
Yeah. So the Stress Blueprint is the #1 stress management coaching and consulting firm. We really service healthcare professionals, because I am a healthcare professional, and they are in the business of service. So I feel like they need to be equipped to serve with purpose effectively. So we do that through coaching, training, and speaking. Really the same message of, stress management and emotional intelligence and finding your purpose and just serving the world. And I am in the process of writing a book. It's not public knowledge, but now it is, about, just stress management, emotional intelligence, and people just really tapping into their purpose.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Is there anything that we have not brought up that you think we need to leave with listeners?
I don't think so. I think just, really take some time. I beg you, just take some time for yourself and explore who you are. And we're waiting for you. The world's waiting for you, on you. We're here. So just take some time to get to know who you are and how you want to impact this world.
Well, thank you so much for joining. And to our listeners, I will have all the information, all the links in the show notes for you, so you can reach out to Wendy and get her assistance. So until next time, don't forget your spoon. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. The information should not be taken as a replacement for medical, clinical, professional advice, diagnoses, or medical intervention. My Spoonie sisters and guests will not be held liable for any of the consequences of such action or inaction. Trigger warning. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including, but not limited to, suicide, abuse, mental illness, and chronic disease. You are advised to refrain from listening if you are likely to be offended or adversely impacted by any of these topics. None of the guests or hosts will be responsible for your use of the information contained therein. Life is not merely to be alive, but to be well. Living a life with a chronic illness is best described with one word: unpredictable. Be Well's products are designed to make the unpredictable easier to deal with. Back when I was getting my infusions, I would have loved to have their adult zip hoodie. They even have one in pink. They also have everything from one-day pill holders to urgency buckets. So remember, they want to make your life a little easier. So be sure to check out Be Well.